Welcome to another episode of Follow the Brand TV. I am your host, Grant McGaugh, CEO of 5-Star BDM, a 5-star personal brand and business development company. I want to take you on a journey through another deep dive into the world of personal branding and business development using compelling personal stories, business conversations, and tips to improve your brand. By listening to the Follow the Brand TV series, you will differentiate yourself from the competition and build trust with prospective clients and employers. You never get a second chance to make a first impression. Make it one that will set you apart, build confidence, and reflect who you are. Building your 5-star personal brand is a great way to improve your skills and knowledge. If you have any questions for me or any of my guests, please email me at grant.mcgaugh@5starbdm.com. Now, let's begin with our next episode on the Follow the Brand TV.
Five-Star BDM, Brand Development Masters, is a professional consulting and advisory group keenly focused on business development services for the small to mid-sized business and entrepreneurs. Although every business is unique, they often share business development challenges that can be addressed through smart branding. Services include process improvement and operations, digital strategy and transformation, business intelligence, digital marketing, and personal branding. Our business and personal branding company has helped a number of professionals and organizations to optimize and grow. This results in more business, more opportunities, better reach, positive outcomes. Visit www.5starbdm.com today to learn more.
Hello, everybody out there. I'm Tom Leary. I'm Senior Vice President and Head of Government Relations for HIMSS. Been with the organization for just over 21 years.
Welcome to the Follow Brand Podcast. This is Grant McGaugh, and this might be the first time I have gone to the nation's capital and going to have an actual government conversation around healthcare, around information technology, and my favorite organization, the HIMSS organization.
Went from 5% of care to 85% of care being delivered through telehealth and remote patient monitoring services. That has been in place throughout the pandemic, post-pandemic, and runs out on December 31st. So a perfect example of advocacy that's important right now.
Welcome to the Follow Brand Podcast. This is Grant McGaugh, and this might be the first time I have gone to the nation's capital and going to have an actual government conversation around healthcare, around information technology, and my favorite organization, the HIMSS organization. If you're not familiar with HIMSS, that's the Health Information Management System Society. Yes, I said all that in one word. Do you believe that? So HIMSS has been around for a number of years, and they've been doing some very great things. I've got Tom Leary with us today. He heads up the government division for HIMSS. I wanted to have a candid conversation with him about a lot of the healthcare policies that are going on, what drives him for the last 20 plus years, and the message he wants to give today. So Tom, would you like to introduce yourself?
Well, good morning, Grant, or hello, Grant, and then hello, everybody out there. I'm Tom Leary. I'm the Senior Vice President and Head of Government Relations for HIMSS. Been with the organization for just over 21 years. It's hard to believe my when I started, HIMSS was on one side of my futon, and my 2-year-old was on the other. And now my 2-year-old is a college graduate, and he's getting his master's degree in economics with a concentration in healthcare. So I think some of the hymns while he was playing with his cars, some of the hymns speak snuck into his brain and into his vocabulary. I'm excited to be here today and looking forward to our conversation.
Absolutely. Now you're going to meet with us. You will be, by the time this airs, everybody will be tuning in. But we'll be at South Florida Integrate Conference in Fort Lauderdale. And there's a lot of people there. There's CIOs, there's CEOs, a lot of keynote speakers. But we're going to have conversations around advocacy and government because healthcare policy is big, and there's a lot of concern about how this is going to change, what has changed. I want to ask you from your lens, and we just talked about your tenure. What changes have you seen happen, and what are the things that you feel that will be most impactful in the years to come?
Sure. We started out, 20 plus years ago, talking about the idea of information sharing. And I think as much as we struggle with, are we successful or not, think about how often a patient here in the United States in particular can utilize their phone to have an interaction with their provider. They can receive information on test results within minutes of having the test. They can reorder prescriptions, and they can get e-prescriptions from their provider to their pharmacy without having to deal with the trail of paper. All of that is just the surface of the incredible change that has occurred, the access to care that is just exploded. And quite frankly, the combination here in the US in particular, the combination of health IT solutions being put in place and improvements in from the Affordable Care Act have improved access to care and really helped to control some of the healthcare costs because patients are being seen on a not in an emergency room basis, but on a more of in prevention. So all of that fitting together, and health IT is absolutely the foundation from which the other policies have been able to stack onto, and that not cost savings necessarily, but cost avoidance and cost containment, really.
This is important knowledge. And I want to ask from the HIMSS perspective, your experience in getting legislation or seeing legislation passed at the government level, what kind of advocacy have you been a part of in what we got today's government? And you just talked about some of the different innovations that we can do now to make it quicker, faster, better for people to access care. What have you done? Have you seen, like, you know what, this is something that HIMSS fostered and it got into policy, and now it's law?
Sure. So we and our members worked very closely. When I started, there were two pieces of legislation around health IT, and it was associated with patient engagement and electronic prescribing. The following year, there were 9 pieces of legislation. The year after that, 68, and then close to 100. So the buzz around advocacy and the use of technology to get us ready for 21st century care in the early 2000s was really been great success. What was known as the Meaningful Use Program, we went from 7 to 15% of doctors' offices having, or eligible providers' offices having some form of EHR or other digital healthcare solution to well into the 90s now. We went from somewhere between 15 and 30% of hospitals having some form of digital healthcare solution to well over 95%. So that the passage of that legislation, as frustrating as it's been for Americans to go through it, And the healthcare system is, often it gets very frustrated when you bring up the term meaningful use. When you look at what we've been able to do and how, from a technology perspective, how we've been able to respond to things like the pandemic and the absolute sudden increase in telehealth services, the increase in access to care, and just digital engagement between providers and patients, and having the debate now around, should a digital encounter be reimbursed the same as an in-person? None of those things are possible without actually getting the technology in place and getting everyone used to the idea of the improvements in care that can occur. One other really big solution that we were absolutely advocated for and were part of was what's known as the Critical Infrastructure Security Act from a few years ago. And healthcare had gone from number 3 on the most attacked, by the cyber bad actors to number 1 on the FBI's list in the around 2014, 2015. The inclusion of healthcare at the 11th hour in the Critical Infrastructure Security Act and then subsequently sections 405C and D began the start of the collaboration between government and the healthcare community on sharing what's happening in near real time, so that healthcare providers can be better prepared to do risk assessment and mitigation. Because let's face it, healthcare is still in the top 5 of most cyber attacked sector, if that's a term, and we have to work together. And it was without HIMSS's foresight and being able to say to Congress and to our members of the other parts of the community that were talking about that legislation, without us saying healthcare needs to be included, we'd still be on the outside looking in. So it's those types of actions that we like to say: we plant acorns, we grow oaks. It might take a little while, but the impact that our membership has on advocating for change, positive change in healthcare, particularly here in the U.S., is very much seen if you take a step back and look at how more efficient healthcare is now than just a few years ago, and safe, quite frankly.
That's important. Safety, the risk. We're operating on a digital plane more and more, and we can see how that, because of that healthcare from a patient experience perspective has gotten better as you look at it at a wider lens. And I like how you put it like that.
Many examples of advocacy, where I was influenced and I was able, to make a really positive change.
Interoperability has always been a passion of mine because data has all of the answers.
And if I had a question that came up in a bill I was analyzing or a bill that I was writing for the House of Representatives, I would often call on these advocates.
everybody. I'm Hal Wolf, President and CEO of HIMSS, and I'm honored to be able to speak with you today via video. A big congratulations to the South Florida HIMSS chapter and its Integrate 24 conference. This is the 13th community gathering. We really appreciate the amazing effort that's taking place in South Florida. Without you, the cornerstone members of HIMSS, we would not be 125,000 members strong and impacting the global health ecosystem through the power of information and technology. Much of this often comes from chapter leadership and the strength of an ongoing commitment to the healthcare professionals within the region. And this event is a cornerstone to their education, collaboration, and groundbreaking innovation. We're very pleased to recognize at HIMSS the leaders, Ganesh Prasad, Chapter President, and Dr. Roosevelt de los Santos, Advocacy Chair, for their nominations to this year's Changemaker Awards. Additionally, we honor all the past presidents and the members of the South Florida chapter with its gold status recognition. This year's conference has a remarkable set of leaders lined up to speak to you, including Tom Leary, who heads our Government Relations Department, Ed Marks, Dr. G, Patrick Hale, and Senators Ana Maria Rodriguez and Gail Harrell. They'll share their insights on digital health transformation, healthcare innovation, and the critical role of advocacy. Again, being part of this community is immense value, not only to yourself and your chapter, but your contribution on a global basis. You're setting the mark, you're having an impact, and you're changing healthcare for the better to each and every person around the globe. We'll look forward to seeing you at HIMSS 25 in Las Vegas, and I'll look forward to seeing your chapter leaders very soon, just next week, coming up at the HIMSS chapter leader meeting. I hope everyone's doing well. Thank you, and we'll see you soon.
I want to ask you this, because you see the healthcare system as it is in the U.S. I want to know from your perspective, if there was one thing that you could just change, you would just get passed and it was just now law, what would that be and why?
We've been working since the day I walked in the door on patient identification. Having national strategy on patient identification can improve patient safety and improve interoperability and information sharing across systems. We have members of Congress that believe that it's a slippery slope to government control of your healthcare data, and that's really thinking from the late 1990s, and we're in this prohibition on the creation of a national strategy, and is just hindered what I would call like the last few steps of making sure that interoperability and information sharing is really successful. So if we could take that off the table, we could turn our attention to the really important issues around artificial intelligence in healthcare, cybersecurity in healthcare, workforce development in healthcare. But we're hindered by that last mile of being able to properly identify the right individual for both a patient safety and information sharing perspective.
So that's the game. Now, I know you're in the sports, I'm in the sports. You have to understand the playing field and what it takes to win. I want to, take on the persona of my audience right now. So as the HIMSS body, as people who run healthcare systems that are involved in information technologies, they hear this challenge like, wow, that's the stumbling block. That prevents us from scoring and moving the ball forward. We've got to get this done. How can we help you advocate on the steps of Congress for this kind of legislative change? What do you need to win?
From an advocacy perspective, many voices helps make positive change. So, and I said patient identification. Just as immediate is the issue of telehealth and we have telehealth provisions that were put in place as part of the response to the pandemic. The United States had a great foundation of IT in both doctors' offices and in hospitals and clinics that had come along as part of the Meaningful Use program. You overlay the ability to turn on telehealth within days or to ramp up telehealth so that it went from 5% of care to 85% of care being delivered through telehealth and remote patient monitoring services. That has been in place throughout the pandemic, post-pandemic, and runs out on December 31st. So a perfect example of advocacy that's important right now is December 31st of this year, legislation gets shut off and CMS has to go back to March 12th, 2020 in their policies where Hawaii, Alaska, and some other remote areas in the United States have access to reimbursement for telehealth and remote patient monitoring, and most everyone else, it gets shut off. That's unfathomable what the impact will be. The decrease in access to care, the decrease in efficiencies, the 4 years of learning that we've done would go and be put on the shelf. What we need is many voices saying to Congress, we can't go back to March 12th, 2020. We need to keep moving forward. And so having many voices say to Congress, we need the legislation passed, we need the provisions in the right legislation passed this year before Thanksgiving, quite frankly, but most definitely before December 31st. And it's that kind of action, many voices saying we can't go back to a more narrow focus on care delivery.
I love that. And that's a call to action for all of us. The HIMSS organization is 100,000 plus. So there's a lot of voices right there, but we need more than that to get this done. Help us understand your process. I mean, you say HIMSS, that's an organization, right? It's an organization of health IT individuals. However, you're advocating and you're working from a government perspective to affect healthcare policy. Walk us through your process of how you get that into the hands of lawmakers for it to become law.
Sure, we have first it starts with our executive leadership team, our CEO Hal Wolf, and working with the board of directors, identifying not only topics here in the U.S. but what we like to call borderless topics that are, because HIMSS is a global organization, we pay close attention to many topics that are impacting IT professionals, healthcare delivery professionals, and quite frankly, patients, as consumers across the globe, whether it's cybersecurity, artificial intelligence, interoperability, EHRs, it's all of those topics are really borderless. So what we start with is guidance from the board of directors on which topics to really focus on, and we make recommendations on based on what we're seeing. We work very closely with the members of our public policy committee, who are self-nominated individuals from across the HIMSS membership. In fact, we just closed the committee application process just on Wednesday night. So we'll see new members coming on board in January. But the idea is we've got individuals representing the HIMSS organization. It's mixture of regionally based, job type, gender. We try to be as reflective of the HIMSS organization as possible. They make recommendations into us on what topics to tackle. The chapter advocacy task force, which has at least one member of each chapter across the 56 chapters, and HIMSS, plus the communities that are out there. They all provide input on what the topics could be and should be. And then, quite frankly, we've got a group of subject matters experts right here on the staff. So identifying the topics and then putting together both hard copy, believe it or not, lots of members of Congress still like to use, have something in their hand, or electronic means of telling the story, telling the change that needs to, recommendations of change that need to occur, and then working with the HIMSS organization as well as partners that have like-minded need for an interest in that change, working to educate members and their staff, and then hopefully, working with them to make sure that the idea gets turned into legislation. The legislation gets passed by both the House and Senate in the U.S., then signed by the president, and then we, of course, we anxiously await the regulations that come most often out of HHS, and then HIMSS and our membership provides comment on those draft regulations. Notice of proposed rulemaking comes out fairly often. ONC, now ASTP, the Assistant Secretary for Technology, they put out a series of draft regulations over the course of time. We comment on them saying this is what the impact of your draft regulation will be on a practical basis. Try to educate them. We don't often say it's a terrible idea. We try to take their idea and build on it and make it stronger, make it more efficient and more effective for our membership. And then when the regulation comes out, we educate the membership on, all right, this is what it says, this is what you're going to need to do, and this is what our recommendations are for how you meet the expectations of the regulation. And quite frankly, while that's all happening, we're also having a dialogue about, all right, what else needs to be changed? Does it need to be legislative change or regulatory change? So we're working both with the agencies and with Congress to continue process improvement and legislative and regulatory improvement. So it's a lot of words to say, working closely together, HIMSS staff, our board of directors, our public policy committee of volunteer members and our members and our chapter advocates and our membership across the spectrum, getting together, identifying the right topics and the right change, and then working with government to make that change.
Who sort of understand the power of technology, but also understand that, healthcare, medicine, it is about people. We are in the humanity business. Well, look, I think mis and disinformation affects the whole industry, from the life sciences space, the med device space, the payer provider space. I think if we all tackle it together, there are ways to partner with life science companies, med tech companies, and patient advocacy groups, right?
It does take a lot to have original ideas. It takes a lot to innovate. It takes a lot to be bright and to be smart and to think ahead of your competition, ahead of your team, and to anticipate needs. But it takes a lot more to actually drag ideas into the light of day and get them over the finish line and get them into production. And that's really, we try as a team to never stop focusing on the fact that our bright ideas have to really help people in the cold light of day. I don't know why it is, but anything worth doing has always been hard. Yeah. And the rewards that come, it isn't. I love what you just said about that. I caught that catch 100 times before. There's a Japanese saying. I was talking with the CIO at Toyota at this conference, and he told me there's a Japanese saying that is, fall down 7 times, get up 8.
Thank you for clarifying the process and the framework of how things get done. Now, here's the big curiosity that I have. Now we've got on our hands right now the elephant in the room, artificial intelligence. And it's taking the world by storm. A lot of people are very familiar with generative AI. AI itself has been around for a long time. But now you're starting to see a lot of different use cases in healthcare delivery that hasn't been done before. This is moving at lightning speed. How does something as ubiquitous as AI, which has been the most adopted technology in human history, now when you come to a process that you just described, are we moving too slow? Are we moving too fast? Because obviously a lot of times technology comes out and then government has to then react to it over time to get the right policies in place. That's kind of normal, but is this speed to market going to hinder or help? Or how do you see this playing out from an AI perspective?
Sure. We just had a great forum up in Boston, the HIMSS AI forum. In fact, there's quite a bit of information on our redesigned website. We'll put in a plug for our website, redesign. There's quite a bit of information that's come out of that forum that's now populating the website. But the idea of artificial intelligence, HIMSS has had a section on our AI and machine learning in our public policy principles since about 2018. AI and machine learning predates all of that. It's, some people point out that, that the first real AI was, some say the 70s, some say the 80s. So it's been embedded in healthcare. It's this sudden change that occurred in March of, the early part of 2023, where the incredible advancement in AI has, and what the power of it being able to help benefit both provider burden, quicker decision making, and more efficient delivery of care, taking some of the more mundane steps off of a provider's plate and allowing them to use their skills and their education on the more complex parts of interacting with the patient, to solve their healthcare issues. That's really the power and the benefit of it. What we're anticipating and what our new AI principles that actually were released as part of the AI forum a few weeks ago, we updated them because of the rapid change that's occurring and the need for a learned intermediary. As you'll continually hear that as part of HIMSS conversation, and quite frankly across the community, risk assessments and making sure that as AI and learns, as the machine learns and it makes adjustments, that there is a learned human, learned intermediary, a human in place, making sure and reviewing, what changes to the algorithms might be occurring. It's that kind of issues that we're expecting need to be addressed by government. You look at the Biden administration, they established an AI executive order. It's elevation of ONC to the Assistant Secretary for Technology, with the chief health AI officer being part of that team. All of that is pointing to the need for collaboration between community, industry, and government to make sure that whatever is passed, whether it's a regulatory change, there's an AI framework supposedly coming out of ASTP, ONC before the end of the year, or most definitely before the end of the Biden administration on January 20th of 2025, there will be a draft framework coming out, making sure that that is workable and paying close attention to what Congress should be passing to take action so that it impacts Americans in a way that we're not just relying on the AI Act from, say, from the European Union, for example, where multinational corporations build their solutions to meet the AI requirements of the European Union, and then everybody else has to purchase their products based on that. If the United States really wants to lead on AI and healthcare, we need AI legislation that is across all sectors to actually be passed next year. We'll be pushing very hard for that. And I'll point to our new principles, our updated principles for everyone to take a look on the website.
I love that. Great intelligence, great, current information that we can then take, dig into and see how we can make this meaningful impact. There's a lot of anxiety out there around AI, the human to AI to human, track. We can see the good of it and then see the bad of it. And so we definitely need that, that government, or wherever it may be, some policy to help protect people in a certain way that they're not harmed by how this tech is going to grow and be impactful to everybody that's interacting with not even just healthcare, but a lot of other things as well, because it is the giant that's taking place today. Now, you're going to be coming down to South Florida, and by the time everybody listens to this, you'll be in South Florida. Yep. People want to know, you're going to sit down now with Senator Harrell, Senator Rodriguez, and Lisa Rollins. You're going to be talking about advocacy at the HIMSS Integrated Conference in South Florida. This is a chapter event. Why did you choose to come, and what are you hoping to convey to the audience?
It's really all of these topics that we've been talking about. The more voices that are involved, the more both educating legislators and executive branch folks, but quite frankly, the more diverse thought that we get from the membership in providing input into the HIMSS team, the more we can be proactive in our policy engagement. Quite frankly, the pandemic, there were certain things that had to occur, and then post-pandemic, there was a lot of virtual engagement with government. They want to make sure that this next leap in healthcare, they get it right, and it only comes from hearing from the diverse voices of the HIMSS membership. That you think about the average HIMSS member, it's hard to describe because they're clinicians, they're IT professionals, they come from large, small facilities, they're consultants, they're big companies, small companies, right? So, but they all have a perspective. And so coming into South Florida, really the important thing for me is getting out and hearing from people, what are the struggles, what are the opportunities, and how do we impact policy to reduce the burden, improve the efficiency, and really underscore the benefits of digital health transformation that we all want to see. Now, I just will say that, that my son, who I referenced at the beginning of the podcast, when he was 2, things were a big struggle. And, he when he was 9, he was diagnosed with a bifid uvula, and it's just the thing that hangs in the back of your throat. His is split, and it was at birth, but they didn't find it until he was a little bit older. But in order to get the proper engagement with his providers, the pediatrician sent us across the street. So it's a 4-lane road. He sent us across the street to the hospital. The hospital sent us to a clinic, which was in the same facility, but all of the information had to go paper by paper by paper. And then finally, the final results from the specialty clinic was mailed to my house 2 miles away, and I had to drive to this office another 5 miles away to fax it back to the pediatrician. That same 9-year-old now is a 23-year-old, and his interactions with his provider are telehealth based on his phone. Just all very much. The patient is more in control. They have access to the tools that we're looking to make more efficient and more available to more people. Extension of telehealth, extension of broadband to the most remote parts of this country, using innovations around AI to make it easier for providers to provide the right amount of care, to address some of the provider shortages. All of those things can be part of the digital health transformation if we all work together. And that's why I'm coming to South Florida.
Man, I couldn't have said it better. I like how you just detailed the journey of how it used to be. This paper-centric, there's so many distractions, so much that has to go on. You go from one department to another, and no one, you got to refill all of these forms over and over again, and it becomes more of a burden to get care, and just in the administrative part of it. And we need, we could take that off the table. And I know that's still happening in other parts of the country. People's like, you know what, I'm still having that type of experience. Yep. And we definitely want to get it to where it moves much smoother, much quicker. And I'm glad your son is doing much, much better. This has been wonderful, Tom. Now I have just one more question because I'm curious about it. So I got to bring it up. Why are you such a Yankee fan?
I grew up in North Jersey, born in Buffalo, New York. So I'm a Bills and Sabres fan. And my dad took us to Yankee Stadium probably 2 times a year. And, he always seemed to get the tickets, from on Old Timers Day, because he wanted to see some of the players that he grew up cheering for and give us some of that exposure. Plus, quite frankly, it was, everybody goes through struggles, as a high schooler, and the person that kept me up was Don Mattingly. So, I know that South Florida has a bit of a relationship with him when he was with the Marlins, but it's my dad, it's my family. Quite frankly, my mom's still a Yankee fan. My sister was a big Thurman Munson fan. So we learned how to, your big sister's cheering for this team, you start to pay close attention. So yeah, it's that's how it all started. And quite, I'm probably a little bit, my voice a little bit groggy this morning because I was staying up late watching them lose to Cleveland last night. But that's how it all started.
Hopefully by this time we'll know if they're going to be in the World Series, and hopefully a World Series champion. That would be wonderful,
Absolutely.
Tom. And I can't wait to see you again. Tell us how to contact you, and most importantly, how to present information to HIMSS to get certain legislation passed potentially through your program.
So policy at HIMSS.org. We monitor that on an hourly basis. If you're involved with the South Florida chapter, you'll probably know the name Evan Dunn or Valerie Rogers. Valerie's a senior director focusing on state issues and public health issues for us. And Evan actually runs the chapter advocacy task force and is a big proponent of advocacy within HIMSS. In fact, we're having a strategy session in the next couple of days to start to think about what our messaging is for 2025. And it's our man, Evan, that's really pushing it. So policy@hims.org, Evan will see it and we'll incorporate it into our strategy.
That's wonderful. And I know Valerie personally, so talked to her a number of years. She's interacted with our chapter. So I love your team, love what you're doing. I encourage your entire team and everybody in the HIMSS family and everyone listening to the podcast, they can tune into all of our shows at 5-star. That's the number 5, that's star, STAR, BDM, B for brand, D for development, infomasters.com. There you're going to see people like Tom sharing their wisdom, their knowledge, their insights for all of us to get better, to become more knowledgeable, and to have impact in the world of healthcare and technology. I want to thank you again for being on the show, Tom.
Well, thanks, Grant. It's been great.
You're welcome.
Hi everyone, my name is Dr. Eric and I'm on the board of South Florida HIMSS chapter.
And I'm Grant McGaugh, program chair for the South Florida HIMSS chapter.
And this video is about why you should register
for this year's South Florida HIMSS Integrate Conference.
See you there.
At the end of the day, it's people helping people. It's connecting people, meeting people.
I loved the AI technology that's coming, all the integrations and the changes that are coming for the future state.
I'm looking forward to engaging conversation and looking forward to learning more about healthcare IT and what's on the horizon.
And I'm looking forward to just having more meaningful conversations about digital health transformation and how to advance that.
It feels like a family. I mean, being in the industry of healthcare and IT, it's a very small community, especially when you come down here to South Florida.
I love the community. And second is the values. One of the things I notice here is nobody's marketing, which is really good. And that tells me that the value system of the community actually is about giving back and about learning and about sharing.
Please welcome our first guest, the brilliant Edward Marks, former CIO over at Cleveland Clinic.
And us as leaders, when we connect the tech with the heart that cares, we have digital transformation.
Majority of our time has to be spent on relationships. If I'm spending too much time in IT, that's a bad thing. You should spend the majority of your time outside of IT.
So if we want tech that cares, if we want to have survival of the digitalist, if we want to transform healthcare in our hospitals, in our communities, in our cities, in our countries, it's you and me. No matter where you've been, no matter your circumstance, there's hope.
Grant McGaugh, CEO of 5-Star BDM, is turning heads in the healthcare and information technology sectors with his groundbreaking approach to personal branding and business development. By challenging conventional strategies, he's setting a new standard for how executives present themselves and their businesses to the world. McGaugh's expertise isn't just about standing out. It's about strategic guidance, generating leads, and building networks that propel executives beyond their competition. His focus on authenticity allows leaders to leverage their unique stories, driving exponential growth and success in their industries. Beyond branding, McGaugh is a fervent advocate for diversity, equity, and inclusion in the workplace. He's committed to helping organizations cultivate environments where innovation and collaboration thrive through inclusive cultures. And for those eager to dive deeper, McGaugh hosts the Follow the Brand podcast. Here, he unpacks the intricacies of personal branding and business growth, offering valuable insights for professionals eager to redefine their identities and share their narratives with the world.
Exciting time to be in digital marketing with the advent, the explosion of generative AI chatbots. They're better known as ChatGPT. There's Bard, there's Claude, there's all kinds of this new one came out called Gemini. There's so many different tools that really what it comes down to is that it's made my business more precise. I can do things more quicker, I would say, and to elevate my brand messaging to a level that allows me to be as creative as possible. Digital market economy is taking the world by storm, probably over the last decade or so, but is really escalating now in the advent of AI because it is a game changer for a lot of businesses. It's not just all the big boys that can play in this space because of cloud computing, because of mobile computing, and now you have these tools at your disposal. You've got a laptop, you've got a computer, you can now digitize yourself to a level and get your message out there, and that equates to business.
Pernell Londono. I am an AI strategist. I've been a technologist for 30 years, and now I'm with Dell Technologies as an AI strategist. So happy to be here. Everybody's worrying about the practical application of anything specifically, let's say cloud. And then in the background, there is this need about understanding what is responsible, what is ethical, what is fair.
Eric Pupo. I am the Director for Commercial Health IT Advisory at Guidehouse. We're the second largest healthcare management consulting firm in the United States. I help to run our technology advisory business across areas in cybersecurity, cloud, artificial intelligence, working directly with CIOs, CTOs, CDOs on a lot of their pressing IT strategy, operational challenges, and thinking ahead about where technology is going in healthcare overall. It's one thing to talk. It's another thing, can you then take that to pilot, to build something out? And a lot of times in consulting, you're doing like program development. You're like changing the business.
Pernell Londono. I am a AI strategist. I've been a technologist for 30 years, and now I'm with Dell Technologies as an AI strategist. So happy to be here. Everybody's worrying about the practical application of anything specifically, let's say cloud. And then in the background, there is this need about understanding what is responsible, what is ethical, what is fair.
Follow the Brand TV broadcast host, Grant McGaugh, as he visits with top executives and entrepreneurs to find out their secrets of success with their personal brand. Follow the Brand TV broadcast host as he focuses on brand development to build better relationships, bring value to your business, relationships, and career. You will enjoy listening to each episode that is tailored to speak to you directly. If you're looking for this type of clarity in terms of building your brand, you have tuned into the right station. Each episode will help you to shape a conversation in the 5-star BDM network of 20,000 professionals and become a springboard for your corporate engagement and business opportunities. Each guest will frame their story in the areas of personal branding, business development, career development, financial empowerment, and technology innovation. Grant McGaugh explains why he is the CEO and owner of his own professional career. Grant is an accomplished business leader and entrepreneur who wants to give back to individuals to grow their personal brand strategy. Tune in as he weaves his story about new possibilities, while to you exceed expectations. If you love storytelling, this show will make for fun.
Tune in for our next show or click on our website at www.5starbdm/followthebrandtv. Thank you.